Owners of Tangled String at Low Mill are preparing to turn half their venue space into a guitar shop. This comes after the closure of their music venue through 2021. Tangled String Studios owner Danny Davis says this was a measure to stay safe during the pandemic. Davis says it's been especially hard for musicians who perform at the studio.
Oh my gosh, they were just the most wonderful people and so talented. And honestly, they love performing for an audience. Now, I feel we're devastated for our musician friends.
Now, Tangled String is still open, and the other half of the venue space can be rented out for small projects and meetings. For more information on that, just go to rocketcitynow.com.